Not only is the Flash my favorite superhero of all time, he is my favorite anything of all time. I genuinely love this character. Whether it's Wally, Barry, or even Jay Garrick, I love whomever is the Flash. Judging by this channel and most of the content I have uploaded, you would think that Batman is my favorite character. And Batman is definitely another character that I love talking about. I just relate to the Flash way more than I do with other superheroes. No, despite popular belief, I do not have super speed. I am talking about the person that is under the mask. His personality, his care, his life struggles, the way he interacts with others. That's what I am talking about. The Flash is literally the reason why I am built like a twig right now. I used to be a fat kid, but since the Flash got me into running, I am now addicted to it. So much so, it's actually a problem. I run non-stop for hours. As cringy and as stupid as it sounds, but when I get that runner's high, with some CW Flash music blasting my ears, I feel like I am the Flash running. I know, stupid. As you can see, the Flash is very important to me. I have consumed more Flash media than a normal human being should, which eventually got me into the Flashpoint Paradox storyline. And yeah, by the title of the video, this is the storyline that I am talking about. So far, other than the amazing comic, we have had 3 adaptations: an animated movie, an episode of a TV show, and this hot garbage. The Flashpoint storyline is not only important to me and is my favorite comic book storyline of all time, but is also important not only to the Flash, but the entirety of the universe that the storyline happens in. It affects everyone there. Even when the storyline concluded in the comics, the events are so massive, it's the start of the New 52. Even in the animated universe, it was the start of the DC AMU, which were all reboots. I won't recap the whole storyline as that is not the purpose of the video. I will get into detail into the things that I think the adaptations messed up and why do they mess it up. I will be getting into spoilers, so if you somehow have not read the comic or haven't seen any of the movies, this is your only warning. Let's start with the things that are in common with the adaptations. What is the main theme and purpose of the Flashpoint storyline? It's about letting go. It's that Barry needs to learn to let go. For so long, he has let the murder of his mother weigh him down and consume his life. And understandably so. We are talking about an event that is so traumatic for anybody to experience in any age. But for as young as he was to experience something so traumatic, nobody can blame him. To steal one from Uncle Ben, with great power, comes great responsibility. Barry now has abilities no mortal man can imagine, and with those abilities come time travel. It's a no-brainer. Anybody in his position would do the same. Barry goes back in time to save his mother, but his actions sadly affect everyone's lives, not just his. Excuse my French, but the world literally goes to shit. And Barry ends up going back in time to fix his mistake, and actually allows his mother's fate to happen. He lets go. That was not a recap, that was simply me providing what is in common with all the adaptations we had gotten. Those events take place in all of them. My issues comes from how they adapt them and some of the changes they made that simply make the story worse, or not as intriguing. I want to make something very clear. I do not mind changes. I am not saying they should just copy and paste everything that happened in the comic perfectly exactly the same into animation or live action. I do not mind change as long as it doesn't ruin the pillars and structures of a story, which is a perfect segue into the first adaptation, the animated movie. I love this movie. It does have changes. It's not just the comic book storyline put into animation. It does have some changes, but I welcome these changes. These changes do not change the pillars and structures of the original story, as I said earlier. That happens in the live action adaptation, which is where I have my issues. But I will get to those. One of the things that I like about the animated movie, unlike the comic, it doesn't just start right into the world of Flashpoint, but instead takes its time and adds a subplot before it starts. So we can see the normal world first. We get to see the Flash in action with a break-in at the Flash Museum by the Rogues. We not only see the Flash in action, we even see the Justice League there. This gives the viewer a sense of belonging and comfort to how normally the world is supposed to function. Wonder Woman and Aquaman are heroes and allies and not monsters at each other's throats. Superman is the great hero we know and love and not an alien who was experimented on. Bruce is the leader that we have grown to love and not Thomas Wayne, the brutal murderer. And we see how evil the Reverse Flash can be and how he would do anything to make Barry's life a living nightmare, making the assumption that he is the one who created Flashpoint much more plausible than it already is. You get the idea. It gives the viewer a chance to be shocked to see how different these characters are in the world of Flashpoint, or make us more familiar with them in case the viewer wasn't. I guess you could say this is a very welcome addition to the story. Another one of the additions that I really like, the movie, instead of telling you what happened, they visualize it. They show you the reason to why this whole world started. The comic only briefly mentions what happens in a dialogue exchange between Aquaman and Wonder Woman, but in the movie, they go into detail into how the Amazons and the Atlanteans were at peace and joining forces. But Aquaman ends up cheating on his wife Mara with Wonder Woman, and rightfully so, Mara gets angry and attempts to attack Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman proceeds to decapitate her. And to make things even worse, she wears her crown, thus starting the war between the two. And we see the aftermath of Thomas and Martha Wayne after losing their son, and how Martha becomes the Joker. These events are briefly mentioned, but in the animated movie we get to see them in great detail after Barry's first attempt to regain his speed, which was his memories of this new timeline taking place. These just add more details to the story and help ground it even more, which is a welcome addition. There is a lot less characters in the movie than there is in the comic, mainly in the team that Cyborg was recruiting to fight the war. In the comic, Abin Sur, the dying alien who crash-landed on Earth and gave the Green Lantern power reign to Hal Jordan, in this timeline he is still the Green Lantern and did not die. But in the movie, the alien and the ship is captured by the American government and the ring didn't transfer to anybody else. We don't get Element Woman here or Enchantress, who played a really important part in the comic, where she was a spy working with the Amazons. And she was the reason to why Captain Thunder, this universe's version of Shazam, lost to Wonder Woman. Because of Enchantress's betrayal, she forces Captain Thunder to utter the words Shazam by using her magic, transforming Captain Thunder into the Shazam Kids, and Wonder Woman proceeds to... But in the movie that never happens, and Wonder Woman simply learns of how Captain Thunder says Shazam to transform or de-transform by using her lasso of truth. She also proceeds to do this here. One of the changes that I really like, and I think is something that should have happened in the comics, is that right after Barry finally regained his speed, he tries to use his speed so he can time travel, and to figure out what changed so they can prevent this world from happening. He does of course fail, as he is not fast enough yet, or he's being held back by someone. That causes him to think of somebody else who can time travel, Superman. In the comic, that never happens. Flash simply says he isn't fast enough, and that Thawne the Reverse Flash has abilities he doesn't have, and that they need to find him first so they can find out what he time traveled to change first, therefore causing all this to happen, and immediately go to find Superman. The only change that I might have a gripe with is that they don't acknowledge that Reverse Flash is the one who murdered Barry's mom. In the comic, the whole reason this all happened is because after figuring out what Thawne did, Barry gets so enraged that he actually goes back in time and saves his mother. In the animation, he simply just does it after the Flash Museum incident, and it is implied that Reverse Flash got under his skin by saying he can't save everyone, not the ones who matter anyways. They never confirm or deny that Thawne is the one who murdered her. It's not too big of a deal, I just prefer how the comic did it better. It makes the rivalry between Flash and Reverse Flash a lot more personal. Those were just some examples of the changes. There are a lot more. I might make a video that goes into a lot more detail into all the differences between the comic and the animation, but that is not the purpose of this video. Point is, there are changes, but the core events stay the same. I highly recommend you watch this movie if you haven't already, as I believe it's a very accurate adaptation that doesn't change too much, but keeps the core events intact, with additions and minor changes that don't affect the adaptation like the other ones do. Speaking of the other ones, let's talk about the CW TV show's version of the Flashpoint paradox. I want to start by saying this. This show is really near and dear to my heart. It was my first ever exposure to the character of the Flash, and after falling in love with the character, I went down the rabbit hole of Flash comics and any Flash media really. I started watching while season 2 was still coming out, and I can still remember the shocking finale. Barry actually did it. He actually finally saved his mom. For context, he had a chance to do so in the first season. In the show, Reverse Flash figured out who the Flash was. With that knowledge, he travels back in time to kill Barry as a child before becoming the Flash. He fails. Barry saves his younger self, and in frustration, he goes ahead and kills his mother. But hold on now. If Barry doesn't become the Flash, Reverse Flash doesn't get his powers and speed. Reverse Flash is now stuck in this world, unable to go back. So now he has to create the Flash himself to use his speed to go back to his time. All that is needed for Reverse Flash to go back to his time is that Barry has to fix his mistake. Barry has to save his mother. Barry does go back to the night of the murder, but he couldn't. He couldn't bear losing the world he was in. His friends, his family were all there, and if he does save his mother, the Reverse Flash wins. Again, that was just for context. There is a lot more to it than that. I really do recommend you watch this show until season 3 though. Do not watch after that. So after the events of season 2, Zoom, the demonic speed-hungry villain, kills Barry's dad. After defeating Zoom, Barry is in so much pain he is empty. He has lived all his life mourning the death of his mother, and now he also just lost his father. He finally does it. He goes back in time to that night and does save his mother. And season ends. What a cliffhanger! Now I had to wait 4 to 5 months so I can see what happens next. What is going to happen? This is an entire universe we are talking about. At the time, Arrow was still coming out, and it was in the same universe. This was still the CW. I wasn't expecting Batman or any other big superhero to just show up out of nowhere. They have Arrow there and didn't really do anything with him. I'm not gonna go into shoulda, coulda, woulda, but my expectations were high for the universe. So much more could have been done. The events of Flashpoint are massive. It deserves more than just one episode. Yes, I am not kidding. It was just one episode. It felt so rushed you have no idea. Let's talk about first of all what doesn't make sense at all. After Barry saved his mother, the timeline he comes from shouldn't exist anymore. Why is he still around? Why did he not disappear like he does later? He just takes the Reverse Flash into the future and just lives his life normally. How does that happen? We are talking about a Barry from a timeline where his mother died, a timeline that shouldn't exist anymore. But now he's in the future of a new timeline. Wouldn't that mean there is another Barry that lives in this new timeline? Time travel can be convoluted, I know. Maybe somebody can explain it better to me in the comments, but I always found that weird. Even if I didn't find that weird, the idea of him just knowing what he did and is just there trying to manipulate people to having a relationship with him is not that intriguing or appealing to me. It's not as intriguing or appealing like him just waking up out of nowhere in this whole new world he doesn't recognize and has no clue this is all happening because of him, making the differences between the two timelines all the more shocking and intriguing. We, the viewer or the reader, are just as shocked as Barry to learn, hold on, his mom is alive? Thomas Wayne is Batman? There is no Justice League? Aquaman and Wonder Woman are at war? And to learn this was all because Barry saved his mom, making all this his fault? And on top of that, he doesn't even have his powers. He has to go through immense pain to recreate the accident that turned him into the Flash. You get the idea. In the show, Barry just has his powers and knows what he did and just lives there happily for 3 months. I guess people might find that interesting, I just don't. I much prefer the shocking nature of the comic. That is already a massive change from the comic that I hate. In this world, there is no Flash, there is Kid Flash, and he has a rivalry with another speedster called Rival. Clever, I know. And Barry is working up the courage to ask Iris out, not stalking her, trust me, and is living happily with his parents, and is trying to help out Joe with his life, the father of Iris, by the way. Oh, and he has Eobard Thawne captive. This has been his life for the past 3 months. We do see some other differences, like Cisco being the richest man in America and Caitlin is an eye doctor. But this is the Flashpoint storyline and things must go to shit. Barry is starting to forget his timeline, and this new timeline's memories are starting to set in. Something they finally use from the comic. Although here, it's the more he uses his speed, the more he forgets. Kid Flash is getting his ass kicked by Rival, so Barry interferes and figures out it's actually Wally West. Wallace West. Whom we just knew existed out of nowhere in the original timeline. And wow, Iris, his sister, is there and knew all about it. Barry goes to talk to Thawne about why is he forgetting, and here is where we figure out it's whenever he uses his speed, the more he forgets. I barely like anything in this version of Flashpoint. One thing that I really love is the Reverse Flash. Oh my god, the actor did an amazing job here, portraying the disdain and hatred towards Barry perfectly, and saying it right to Barry's face. One day, you'll beg me to kill her again. Because he knows how time works. The more you mess with time, the more time fights back. And he knows Barry will regret his actions, and will want things to go back to the way they were. It's not just Reverse Flash that I liked here, it's really just any interactions between the two. In any episode, in any season, doesn't matter how bad it is, if those two interact, cinema. Barry gets so angry after talking to Thawne, and wanting to prove him wrong, he gathers everyone into one room and explains what happened. He explained that this whole timeline is his doing, and that he will help Wally with his rival problem. They find him and immediately confront him. Kid Flash rushes towards him and pays the price. The Flash and the rival go at it. Barry makes quick work of him, but oh no, he forgets he's the Flash. But out of nowhere, Iris gets on those comms and says some inspirational shit and tells him you're the Flash, and Barry somehow regains his memory and remembers he's the Flash and wins the fight. That happens way too many times in this show, by the way. The whole, I can't do this, I'm not fast enough. No, Barry, you're the Flash, you can do this. I'm the Flash, I'm fast enough. And proceeds to do this. Like, I hate it, it happens way too many times. Wally is now dying. Barry obviously blames himself. Well, I mean, this wouldn't have happened if he didn't create this timeline. Says goodbye to his parents and goes to Thawne to, yes, ask him to kill his mom. Thawne rubs it in and asks him to say it, and they do just that. They go back to that night and do the deed. Now this Barry disappears. Why? Because he's from a timeline that doesn't exist, right? But our Barry that we've been following didn't disappear when he saved his mom. Again, that does not make sense to me. And that concludes the Flashpoint storyline in the TV show. It just feels so much smaller in scale than the original storyline. Like what I said, the world during this storyline is going to shit, which is why Barry has to go back and fix what he did. Don't get me wrong, Wally dying is bad, and it is Barry's fault that Iris is going to lose her brother and Joe will lose his son. But please compare that to the whole world ending, having every superhero in existence involved, and losing millions of lives because of Barry's action. It's just so incredibly rushed. So much more could have been done, but hey, it's the CW. They don't really have that great of a budget. At least they can be excused from that front. But what I cannot excuse is this thing's sad existence. But before getting into this abomination, if you enjoyed this video so far, I would highly appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. It would massively help out with the channel. Let's get back into the video. Where do I even begin? Let's start with something that I like. I am a massive Flash New 52 suit fan. I love the way that suit looks, the way the suit lights up when Barry is using his speed is amazing, and I really do kind of like it here with this suit. This suit is not great. This suit pisses me off, not because it looks bad, because it just needs a few tweaks for it to be a great suit. There are certain shots where the suit doesn't look too bad, but other shots, yeah, it looks horrible. I'm thinking of making a Flash live action suit ranking video, so I'll keep my thoughts for that video. The movie starts with Barry being late to work ordering a sandwich, when he receives a call from Alfred about a robbery in Gotham. Barry reluctantly agrees and runs off to Gotham. Wow, you can immediately see how awful the visual effects in this movie look. I'm pretty sure the visual effects team worked really hard on it, as there are some shots that are extremely well done. Not all of the movie looks awful, and I don't blame them at all. They had to make something with what they were given in a short time, and were probably extremely rushed, but this just ain't it. The thing that throws me off the most is that he's running normally here like anybody would, yet he's also moving at super speed. Things around him are moving really fast, but he's moving normally. That just looks off. That is not how it works. If he's running really fast, he should match the speed around him by moving his arms and legs really fast, kind of like this shot in the show. Or if you want him to move slowly, just make things around him move also slowly, like they did it in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is my favorite live-action Flash visuals, by the way. It was done extremely well with the way he moves extremely fast with electricity going everywhere for the normal human eye, but for him, the way everything looks for him is perfect. I do have my issues with the blue lightning. Don't get me wrong, blue lightning looks awesome, it looks beautiful, but it's just not the Flash's color. Flash's color will forever be that goldish orangish color, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not as big of a deal as the effects looking out of place like they do in this movie. They do the same thing the animated movie did, where they do a subplot to make you more familiar with this world we live in before it inevitably changes. Batman has to stop a robbery, and the Flash has to stop a Gotham City Hospital maternity wing from collapsing. I can tell they were trying to do something clever and creative here with the whole having to save multiple babies falling from a building, but it ended up looking really goofy and stupid. This whole movie's tone is just wrong. This is a serious storyline we are talking about, and the start is just so goofy and stupid. Barry is this bumbling buffoon who can be serious for 1 second. Don't get me wrong, I am not by any means saying the Flash is a serious character like Batman or Daredevil. He can be lighthearted, he can crack jokes. I don't mind jokes in movies as long as they don't affect how serious a storyline can be. This storyline is about someone who can't let go of his mother's murder that he experienced as a child. That is a pretty dark subject to talk about. The tone should not be this goofy. It can be lighthearted, but not stupid. Batman and the Flash are done, Wonder Woman saves Batman, and they make both the Flash and Batman the butt of a joke. Now compare that to the unity we saw in the animated movie, the whole Justice League showing up and showing how much they care about their friend.
Your lives aren't worth much. But Flash's life is.
That shot of Superman saying that always made me emotional. It showed how much the Flash matters to them. Everyone working together seamlessly and simultaneously building the rivalry between the Flash and Reverse Flash. And hinting about how Barry can't save everyone, not the ones who matter. Hint, hint, your mother. But in this movie, joke, joke, ha ha, joke, joke, Batman crush on Wonder Woman, Barry a virgin, ha ha ha. Oh god, I have to continue watching this movie now. Now we get to see Barry in his normal day-to-day life. He has to go to his lousy CSI job with a horrible boss and friends who keep bullying him. Barry sees his school crush there, reporter Iris West. She asks him about his dad's appeal and what he thinks about his father's innocence, and Barry is adamant his father is innocent. He not only believes he's innocent, he knows he is. His dad went to the supermarket when it happened. He just has to prove it. Finally, something good. The movie starts acting like it should. It's showing the toll and the trauma he experienced with his mom not only dying, but his dad also being wrongly accused. This movie has the potential to be good, but it chooses to be bad. It does some tiny things really well, but does other things extremely horrible. Barry gets a call from his dad in Iron Heights, and they talk. Barry is still hopeful about proving his dad's innocence, but his dad has given up, and is telling Barry to please live his life. Mid-call, Barry visits their old home from the outside, and we get to see what happened, in an amazing sequence where it transitions beautifully between memory and reality. Call cuts, and Barry is filled with emotions. He just runs. He doesn't think, he runs. And doesn't stop. He keeps going. This sequence was really beautiful. Visually and emotionally, I wish the movie was always like this. This is what matters in this storyline. The emotions that make him saving his mom that more impactful. And while running, he goes so fast, he figures out he has the ability to fast travel. And look at how horrible this looks. I guess they were trying to go for the cosmic treadmill visuals, but that would not work without the cosmic treadmill. If he doesn't have the cosmic treadmill, just do it like they did it in the comic or the animation or even the show. The CGI ended up looking abysmal. Everyone at the time clowned on it, and rightfully so. Barry now has the abilities to time travel and starts pondering on it. Talks to Bruce about it, and Bruce tells him how catastrophic that could be with the amount of people he would interact with. He gets a visit from Iris and gets the idea, hold on. The reason my dad went into the store is we forgot about the tomato soup. What if we didn't? What if I just slipped the tomato sauce into the cart? That would mean my dad wouldn't have to go to the store and my mom would live. And I don't even have to interact with anyone. And he does just that. And it works. The world starts changing. He tries to go back into the time he was in, but this weird dark Flash shows up and attacks him, and throws him out in an unknown time. I mean, that works. I just, again, prefer the way the comic and the animation did it, where we don't know how this is all happening, and then we discover later on that this all happened because Barry saved his mom. Also, the whole tomato soup thing is just not as interesting to me as Barry going in there and stopping the Reverse Flash. I mean, it is clever, don't get me wrong, but doesn't Barry want to know who murdered his mom? I get it, he's trying to avoid catastrophe by not interacting with anyone, but still, your mom was murdered by a man who is not your dad. Who? All the adaptations had the Reverse Flash involved, but this one doesn't. Without Reverse Flash, this just does not work as well. I'm not saying they tell you Reverse Flash didn't do it, he probably did, they just keep the killer a mystery, and Barry not wanting to know who did it is really weird to me. Turns out the time he accidentally dropped in is back when he was 18. He sees his mom alive and acts like he is the Barry that they have always known. I kinda like what they did here, yes, holy crap, my mom is alive, I can't believe it, I just think it should have been a lot more emotional, and not, yo, cool, my mom's alive. But hold on, I am not 18. There he is, my 18-year-old self. His parents can't see them both at the same time, so he goes ahead and interacts with himself and starts reluctantly explaining that he has powers and is a time travel that changed something. He doesn't explain what he changed yet, as he had no choice but to explain something to him. Barry figures out what date it is, September 29th, the same date that he got his powers in. Barry assumes that this reality's Barry, since he's in the past, has to get powers so he, the future Barry, can also keep his powers. So they break into his lab, and Barry tries to recreate the accident, but accidents happen, and the lightning hits our Barry, goes through him into the other Barry. And oh no. He lost his powers. Instead of giving past Barry's speed, it ended up transferring our Barry's speed into the other Barry. The comedy does not hit in this movie at all for me, but this one shot got me. Seeing him flail his arm around expecting to move at the light of speed, just for him to run in circles, was pretty funny. I also have to say the CGI face here looks abysmal. The reason I said assumes past Barry has to get speed so future Barry can keep it, well, past Barry does have speed now. Why does future Barry not have speed? I guess it can be explained that it's because he didn't get speed naturally, he got transferred this speed. It's weird, but in my headcanon, I can't believe I'm making a headcanon for this movie. It's that our Barry comes from a timeline that doesn't exist anymore. That's why he still has powers, and that's why he still remembers everything from the OG timeline, and that is why he still even has the suit. He exists as this time remnant, if you will. So whatever happens to past Barry of this timeline does not affect him, because they both come from different timelines. I don't know if they ever explained it like that, but that's just how I think of it right now in this moment. I'm getting sidetracked, but they get out of there, and this Barry is inexperienced, so all hell breaks loose. And now our Barry starts training past Barry with some speed training. But oh no, Man of Steel deja vu. Zod starts speaking about a Kryptonian citizen living on Earth whom he wants. Barry is now talking about how no one can beat Zod but Superman, and we get this cool flashback scene of how Flash tried to help during the Battle of Zod. This scene was actually pretty good. So something that is not bad finally. He saves this kid, but sadly couldn't save his father.
Oh my god, Barry still can't get his father out of prison. He can't save his father, haha.
You can tell that day left a huge impact on him. So now Barry is talking about Superman, but he isn't recognized. He talks about the whole Justice League, but nobody knows what he's talking about. He does research about them, but nothing pops up. Nobody exists. Not even Batman? Oh no. Batman does exist here. Everyone confirms it. He knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, so to Wayne Manor we go. Some crazy old guy starts attacking everyone. I don't know what they were smoking here, but I genuinely hate this. Just an old guy attacking everyone? and they present this as a cool and funny sequence, when I didn't find it cool or funny. Surprise, surprise, this is Bruce Wayne. Everyone saw the trailers, everyone knew Michael Keaton was gonna be Batman here. Look, I love Michael Keaton Batman. He's not my favorite live-action interpretation, but I do respect him and respect the time the movie came out in. The concept does seem cool. Oh my god, Michael Keaton Batman is back and teaming up with the Flash! But it just ended up being weird. I much prefer the idea of Thomas Wayne being Batman. I think it's a much more shocking revelation to learn that Bruce is the one who died that night and this is his father, Thomas Wayne. Now just compare that to, yeah, this is Batman, but not the Batman we know. This is time travel, anything can happen, I guess. How I understood the DC multiverse is that it's an infinite amount of Earths with infinite possibilities. But each Earth has its own time. So if you change the timeline of an Earth, you change this specific Earth's timeline. Michael Keaton, as I understood it at least, was a Batman from a different Earth. So how does changing time in this Earth cause another Batman from another Earth to be here? How does Bruce Wayne become a whole other person in this time? They try to explain it by, oh my god, Barry time traveled, so now he started the multiverse. I just don't like their approach. It felt like they were trying to find an excuse to bring Michael Keaton Batman here. They ask this Bruce for help to find Superman, but he passes. He doesn't want anything to do with this. So they go ahead and break into his Batcave, so they can use his equipment to find Superman. Barry knows Bruce is watching and starts talking. Bruce is now inspired and he agrees to help. He found the information that an alien spaceship landed in Russia and is held in a research military facility thingy. So they go on their way there. They break in all stealthily and stupidly get caught. Cool Batman shots, dumb Flash action, and we find a pod that looks like it can hold a Superman. Instead of finding Superman, they find a girl. A Supergirl, if you will. Like, really? I get that was a joke and all, but that's Batman we're talking about. He would have seen that guy miles ahead and would have taken him out without even trying, but ends up being surprised by him and can't even intimidate him. Batman can't intimidate a random guy. This movie tries to be funny at the expense of other characters, and it always hits flat.
Oh no,
Dumb Barry gets shot. What are they gonna do now? They find an escape and are surrounded. But this chick, who totally is not Supergirl, gets to the sun, giving her energy back and saves the day. Yippee, we're closer to finishing this movie. They now go back into the Batcave. Kara gets all her strength back. It is explained to her that her cousin didn't land here. Yo, Kara, you gonna help? Nah, humans are assholes, and dips. Barry gets talking with Bruce, and he explained that the reason this all happened was because he wanted to save his mom. Bruce completely understands as a man who has lost his parents. And also both agree on recreating the accident that turned him into the Flash so he can get his powers back. But past Barry heard everything and now knows that his mom died. And that's what future Barry changed. Barry does in fact try to recreate the accident but fails. Circuits are fried, Barry is a goner, but now thankfully Supergirl comes back, flies him up into the skies where he gets a direct hit of lightning. And yay, it worked. He has his speed back. Zod needed the Codex to revive Krypton, but at the expense of Earth. The Codex, which was originally hidden in Superman's blood, but in this timeline it was hidden in Supergirl's. Zod found baby Superman and thought the Codex was in his blood and...
The infant did not survive.
Yeah, rightfully so, Supergirl gets enraged and the fight starts. As I said, this is supposedly a Flashpoint adaptation, so the world does have to go to shite. Supergirl dies, and Batman for some reason just does this. No! What, just sacrifice himself for no reason? Why did he not just eject? Is he stupid? Like this movie is stupid? Past Barry gets really emotional and decides to time travel to fix this. Future Barry barely tries to stop him and just goes along with him. They go back, try to change things, but Supergirl and Batman still end up dying. Past Barry yet again tries again. And our Barry tries to talk him out of it, but he is not listening. He keeps trying and trying. But these events are inevitable. They keep happening. Our Barry is really trying to put some sense into him, but he has to save everyone. And he knows that this is all happening because Barry saved his mom. And our Barry is saying that he has to let her die now to fix all of this. But past Barry gets enraged and says, "Hell nah, I can fix this. I'm not gonna let you murder our mom." And turns out this dark, mysterious Flash was actually past Barry trying over and over and over again to fix all of this. This was actually kind of a cool plot point. I just don't like the idea that this is what starts the multiverse. I guess maybe the execution was awful, just look at how bad this looks. Horrible CGI and just, I'm so glad this movie's ending. I don't know why they are pushing this idea that the Flashpoint storyline is what starts the multiverse. The Flashpoint storyline has nothing to do with the multiverse. It starts a new timeline in the same universe that it's in. It has nothing to do with the whole multiverse. It starts the New 52, it starts the DC AMU. The multiverse has nothing to do with this. It just pisses me off every time. Just look at how bad this looks. Horrible CGI and just... I'm so glad this movie's ending. Dark Flash tries to kill future Barry, but past Barry sacrifices himself in the process. But that means Dark Flash killed his past self. But wait, our Barry is still here. Confusing, I know, but that just confirmed my headcanon of him being a time remnant of a time that no longer exists, which is why he remained here. Barry has to do it now. He has to let his mom die. And he goes back to that day, right into the store, and sees his mom there. In an emotional scene, he interacts with her. And it was a pretty tear-inducing scene. However, I was crying tears of joy because this movie is finally ending. Barry puts the tomato sauce back to its shelf, but before leaving, he sees the camera that didn't quite pick up his dad's face at the store, and it's presumed that he did something. Goes back to his time, goes straight to his dad's appeal, and we can finally see his dad's face, finally proving his alibi of him being at the store when the murder happened. Nipple Batsuit guy shows up. Yeah, I'm done. I'm just done. I am just done. Do I even have to compare that to the letter scene in the Flashpoint paradox? Do I even have to say anything about that? The original storyline was way better, and the tone of the movie does not match the serious nature of the topic we were discussing. It had a lot of potential if it just took itself seriously and told a great story without turning everything into the butt of a joke. Michael Keaton Batman did not need to be there. They were kinda cooking something up with the whole Dark Flash being the corrupted version of a Barry, not being able to let go, but the execution was just dog shit. The visuals looked awful. This is not the Flashpoint paradox that I know and love. This is just a bad joke. A bad movie. A bad movie that I hated every second of watching. Please do not watch this movie. If you want a good Flash story, there are countless amazing Flash comics that you can read. And if you want to experience the Flashpoint paradox specifically, do not watch this movie. Read the comic. And if you want to experience it in moving picture, watch the animation. It's an accurate adaptation that adds to the story incredibly well. Unlike the show and this god-awful movie. I hate this movie so much I have tried to wipe it from my memory, but for this video, I had to watch it. The Flash is not this much of an idiot. They pretty much make him a bumbling goofball. Yes, the Flash is awkward. He can be weird, but not like this. Holy crap. This is an amazing storyline that now has been ruined in the live action side of things, and I refuse to let that be a reality. And the Flash character matters to me more than you can think. And anything that may let people think that this is how the character is supposed to be, and that this storyline is just some weird mess that is awkwardly put together, no, I refuse. Please read the comic or watch the animated movie. It's my sign to try and wipe this movie again from my memory. If you have reached this far, thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you guys for watching and goodbye.